In 1940, a young man sat alone in a prison cell in Nazi-occupied France. He had no food, no certainty of tomorrow. The guards had already taken everything from him: his name, his freedom, his future. Everything that most people would say made up a life. Everything that most people would say gave a man his sense of self. Gone. And yet, there was one thing they could not reach. One thing that stayed completely and entirely his, no matter what they did, no matter what they took, no matter how dark the cell got: his mind. Every morning, before the sun came up, before the noise of the camp began, he would sit still in the dark and do the only thing no one could stop him from doing. He would think on purpose. He would rehearse patience when everything around him was chaos. He would rehearse courage when everything in him wanted to surrender. He would picture the people he loved. He would remind himself of who he refused to stop being. Not despite what was happening around him, but in the middle of it. Years later, that man, Viktor Frankl, walked out of 4 concentration camps alive. Not just physically alive. His mind was not broken. His sense of self was not shattered. And he said something that I need you to hear slowly and then hear again. He said, "Between what happens to you and how you respond to it, there is a space. And in that space is your power to choose. And in that choice is your freedom." Most people never find that space. They react without thinking. They drift without deciding. They wait for the right mood, the right moment, the right amount of energy before they take any real step forward. And the days pass, and then the weeks, and then one day they look up and years have gone by, and the life they were going to build is still waiting somewhere in the distance, exactly where they left it. This video is about 5 lessons. Not the kind of lessons you read and feel good about for an hour. The kind that, if you actually apply them, will make you the most consistent, most dangerous version of yourself. Dangerous not to others, but to every excuse, every distraction, and every version of yourself that has been settling for less than you are capable of. If this kind of thinking speaks to you, subscribe to the Stoic Truth right now. Every day on this channel we go past the surface and do the real work. Hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and let's get into it. Lesson 1. Difficulty is not a sign to stop. It is the road itself. Most men treat difficulty as a warning. They take the hard day, the failed attempt, the uncomfortable moment as a signal that something is wrong. If this is this hard, the thinking goes, maybe this is not for me. Maybe the timing is off. Maybe I should wait until conditions are better. And so they wait, and the conditions never get better, and the waiting becomes the story of their life. Here is what nobody tells you. The resistance you feel is not telling you to stop. It is telling you that you are close to something real. The ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus said the road up and the road down are one and the same path. What he meant is that the path toward the man you want to become and the path that feels the hardest right now are not 2 different roads. They are the same one. The obstacle is not blocking the way. The obstacle is the way. Think about how your muscles actually grow. They do not grow in comfort. They do not grow in rest. They grow under resistance, under the precise moment when the weight feels too heavy and you push anyway. Your mind, your character, your ability to stay consistent under pressure, all of it works exactly the same way. Every morning you show up when you are exhausted. Every conversation you have when your voice is shaking. Every piece of work you return to after failure knocked you flat. and made you question everything. These are not things you are merely surviving. These are the conditions that are forging you. The men you admire most, the ones who seem unshakable, the ones who seem to carry pressure without breaking. They were not born that way. Nobody is born that way. They were built through the same kind of difficulty that is sitting in front of you right now. The difference between them and the man who never quite gets there is not talent. It is not luck. It is the decision made over and over again in small, quiet moments to keep going anyway. So the first lesson is this: stop waiting for difficulty to pass before you begin living the life you want. The difficulty is not in the way. It is the way. Every hard step you take is building something inside you that easy steps never could. And the man on the other side of consistent discomfort is unrecognizable compared to the man who kept choosing comfort. Lesson 2. Motivation is a lie. Build a system. Instead, here is the truth that the self-help world does not want to say plainly because it is not exciting enough to sell. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings change. They change with how much sleep you got. They change with what someone said to you. They change with the weather, with the news, with how your day went. If you are waiting for motivation before you act, you are building your entire life on something that disappears every few days. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote that a person who has a strong enough reason to live can endure almost any how. What he was saying is that your why, your real, deep, personal reason for doing what you are doing, is the anchor when the feeling is gone. But even a powerful why is not enough on its own, because even men with powerful reasons fall apart when they have no structure around them. The real difference between the man who transforms and the man who stays stuck is not the intensity of his desire. It is the strength of his system. Consistent men are not more motivated than you. They are more structured than you. They have built their days and their environments so that action is simply what happens, not something they have to convince themselves about every single morning. They have removed the negotiation. They have decided once, and the system carries them forward even when the feeling is absent. Think about your mornings right now. Are you designing them or just reacting to them? Because the first 30 minutes of your day are a quiet battle, and the world is already armed. The phone is waiting. The noise is waiting. The demands are waiting. If you walk into that space without a clear intention, you will walk out of it living in someone else's priorities before you have even decided what yours are. What would change if you chose, just for 1 week, what the first 10 minutes of your morning looked like? Not an elaborate routine, not a perfect system, just one deliberate act before anything else claims you. That is where structure begins. And structure, built slowly and consistently, is what produces the man that motivation alone never could. The second lesson is this: stop relying on how you feel. Build something that works regardless of how you feel. Design your days so that doing the right thing is the easiest thing, because motivation visits you, but a system lives with you every day. Lesson 3. Your worst habits are protecting you from something. Find out what. This is the lesson most men skip because it requires honesty that is genuinely uncomfortable. Your bad habits are not accidents. They are not simply failures of willpower. They are not proof that something is broken in you. Every habit you have, even the ones that are clearly destroying your consistency, is doing something for you. It is meeting a need. It is solving a problem. even if it is solving it badly. The endless scrolling on your phone is not laziness. It is reducing loneliness or boredom or a low, quiet anxiety you have not yet named. Avoiding the difficult conversation is not weakness. It is protecting you from rejection, from conflict, from the fear that if you finally say the true thing, the people around you will leave. The procrastination that keeps showing up is not stupidity. It is keeping you safe from the possibility of trying fully and still failing. Because if you never really try, you never really fail. And that feels like protection, even though it is the most expensive protection you will ever pay for. Carl Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." In plain language, that means the things you do not understand about yourself will keep running your life from the background. You will keep repeating the same patterns, ending up in the same places, making the same choices. And it will look and feel like bad luck or circumstance when really it is just an unexamined part of you operating on automatic. You cannot replace what you do not understand. So the question is never simply, how do I stop doing this? The real question is, what is this doing for me? What need is it meeting? When you can answer that honestly, something shifts completely. Because now you are not at war with yourself. You are understanding yourself. And once you understand the function of a habit, you can give your mind what it actually needs through something that builds your life rather than drains it. Meditation instead of scrolling. A long walk instead of avoidance. One honest sentence written toward the thing you have been delaying. You are not fighting the need. You are redirecting it towards something worthy of you. The third lesson is this. Do not just try to stop your bad habits. Understand them first. The man who understands why he does what he does has a power over himself that willpower alone will never give him. That understanding is where real change begins. Not with force, but with clarity. Lesson 4. The man. No one sees is the man you actually are. I want you to think about something. Think about the moments in your life that nobody ever saw. The morning you got up anyway when there was no reason to believe it would matter. The work you went back to after 2 weeks of doubt told you to quit. The decision you made alone, in silence, with no one watching and no reward waiting. Nobody applauded those moments. Nobody even noticed them. But those are the moments that actually built you. Those are the bricks in the foundation you are standing on right now. The Spanish poet Antonio Machado wrote, "Traveler, there is no path. The path is made by walking." What he meant is that there is no perfect moment waiting somewhere down the road. There is no ideal set of conditions that will finally arrive and make it the right time. The path does not exist until you start walking it. And every day you act in the absence of certainty, tired, unseen, without any guarantee. You are laying one more stone beneath your feet. This is the hardest thing for most men to accept, because we have been taught to measure progress by what is visible. The promotion, the recognition, the results that others can see. But the real work, the work that actually produces the man you are trying to become, is almost entirely invisible. It happens in the private moments, in the choices no one will ever know about, in the standards you hold yourself to when no one is checking. The man who only shows up when people are watching will always be fragile, because the moment the audience disappears, so does his discipline. But the man who shows up in private, who does the work when there is nothing to gain in that moment except the integrity of keeping his word to himself. That man is building something that cannot be taken away, because it does not depend on anyone else. It does not depend on recognition or reward or the right conditions. It depends only on him. And here is what that man discovers over time. The mind needs proof, not grand achievements, just quiet, private, repeated proof that when you commit to something, you follow through. Each kept promise to yourself becomes evidence. Each small act of follow-through answers the loudest voice of self-doubt, the one that says, "You always quit. You never finish. You are not the kind of man who gets things done." You do not answer that voice with words. You answer it with proof. And that proof, stacked quietly over time, becomes the foundation of a confidence so deep and so steady that nothing from the outside can shake it. The fourth lesson is this: the man you are in private is the man you actually are, not the version you present when people are watching. The real one. Guard that man. Invest in that man. Because everything that eventually becomes visible in your life will have been built by him first, in the dark, when no one was watching. Lesson 5. Discomfort is not the enemy. It is the teacher. This is the final lesson, and it is the one that separates the men who truly transform from the men who only talk about it. It is about how you relate to discomfort, not whether you feel it. Every man feels it, but what you do with it when it arrives. The mind will always resist what it does not yet know how to carry. That is natural. That is expected. But discomfort is not your enemy. It is information. It is your mind telling you, here is where something is being tested. Here is where the next version of you is being built. Rumi, the poet who wrote 800 years ago in a world completely different from ours, said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." He was not being poetic for decoration. He was pointing at something deeply true about what it means to grow as a human being. The very places where life has been hardest, where you have failed, where you have been cracked open by circumstance, those are the precise places where something new can enter, not despite the difficulty, through it. Every challenge that arrives, the plan that collapses, the relationship that fractures, the goal that keeps moving further away no matter how hard you push. None of that is a verdict on your worth. None of it is evidence that you are not enough. It is an invitation into a version of yourself that comfortable conditions could never have produced. And you do not need to feel ready for it. You do not need to feel strong or certain or clear. You only need to act, even slightly, even imperfectly, even while fear is sitting right beside you, because the act itself is what eventually makes you strong. Strength is not what you bring to the difficult moment. It is what the difficult moment brings out of you, if you choose to stay present and keep moving. There is also something practical here that is worth naming clearly. On the days when everything is against you, when motivation is gone, when energy is low, when the circumstances are not cooperating, do not ask yourself how to do everything. Ask yourself, what is the smallest possible action that keeps momentum alive? A single step forward. One thing done. Not perfect, not complete, but real. Because the man who does one small thing on a hard day is building something the man who waits for a good day never will. He is proving to his own mind that his commitments are not conditional, that they do not depend on how he feels or what is happening around him. And that proof, repeated enough times, rewires everything. The fifth lesson is this: stop treating discomfort as something to get through as quickly as possible. Start treating it as the environment in which your best self is being made. Every time you act in spite of the discomfort, every time you stay when the easier choice is to leave, you are becoming someone that circumstances can no longer control. And that man, the one who has been built by difficulty rather than broken by it, is the most dangerous, most consistent, most capable version of you. So here is what all 5 lessons come down to. Difficulty is the road, not the obstacle. Systems outlast motivation every single time. Your habits are protecting you from something. Find out what. The man you are in private is the man you actually are. And discomfort is not the enemy. It is the teacher. These are not ideas to agree with. They are disciplines to practice. Every day, in small, quiet moments, with no audience and no guarantee. Because confidence, real confidence, the kind that does not collapse when things go wrong, is not a feeling you wake up with. It is not something handed to you. It is the result of a system built deliberately, tested under pressure, and refined through honest reflection. Step by step, day by day, not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger than any circumstance. If this video reached something real in you, like it right now and share it with a man in your life who needs to hear this. The friend who is capable of so much more than he is currently living. The one who is quietly fighting and needs to know that the fight is worth it. Subscribe to the Stoic Truth if you are not already here, because every day we come back and go deeper. The next video is already waiting for you. But more than that, your next step is waiting for you. Take it.